Welcome back to Build at Bear Lake, where we are finishing up, finally, our 40 by 40 garage, or at least the rough framing of it. We did not have a great way to get those giant trusses up on top of the garage, so we did decide to hire the crew that is framing our house to do that part for us, and then we were able to tackle getting the sheathing on the roof. So here we have all of our trusses in place, they braced them for us, and then we could get started. It is Thursday night at about 6 o'clock, and I am headed to Logan, which is about a 45-minute drive through a very windy canyon. We have the trusses up on the garage, but we're missing some hardware. We need hurricane straps, is what they're called, to go on the trusses and attach them to the wall. And we don't have them. We didn't know that we needed them until the crew told us that they were missing, and we asked the manufacturers of the trusses which ones we're supposed to use and got those details. So Mike has put together a detailed cart or list of what I need to get from Home Depot. I'm driving down there to pick it up. One of the most challenging things about this build is how remote we are. It's a challenge, but it's okay. I have a fresh audio book that I can listen to, and I mean, what else was I gonna do with my evening? Just kidding, there's a lot of things I could be doing. I wish I was doing. While it is very time consuming to drive down Logan Canyon, it is a beautiful drive, and with a good audiobook, I really don't mind driving down there. Once I got to Home Depot, I went and found the aisle where all of the straps were, and there were a lot of options, so it took a minute to find the ones that I needed, and then I had to count them all out. Mike had noted how many I needed of each type, and this was my cart. What's this?
This is a Simpson Strong Tie A34. This is a little L bracket that we place between the gable truss and the top plate of the gable wall, and it just provides a little connection in between the two to improve the lift strength, if you will. If you imagine that wind is getting up under the eave and it's trying to pull the roof off the garage, this keeps the gable truss and the top plate of the gable wall connected.
What's this?
That is an H1 hurricane tie, and this goes between, again, the top plate of the shear wall and the trusses themselves. So basically it sandwiches up against the wall, and then the truss, which runs perpendicular to the wall, sits inside of it like that, and they both get nails on their faces, and it holds everything from coming apart in a windstorm.
What about this?
This is a palm nailer. So if you need to drive a nail in between a couple of narrow things like studs where you can't swing a hammer, you put a little nail in this and it's magnetic. It holds the nail, and then you just put the nail into place softly, and when the nail's in the right place, you apply a little bit of pressure and it goes bang, 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 and it smacks them in really fast. It's super fun.
And it attaches to the air compressor?
Yeah, and it's got a little hand grip on it so that you don't even have to use your fingers. You can jazz hands while you pound nails. It's pretty cool.
All right.
You're welcome.
Neat.
So you get it set at your 48 inches or whatever to do. Let's get it set softly, and then push. Do not push before you've got it in the right place, and do not get your finger in there.
These H1s go like this. So they hug the truss on both sides. The framing crew that put our trusses up had to add a bunch of bracing in order to get the walls perfectly square. And makes it so I can't really use my scaffolding to put these brackets on. I got 3 of those done and 2 of the H hangers, but pretty much stuck now. Can't move my scaffolding around, so I'm gonna have to use the ladder. When we started working last night, we realized that the people that we paid to put the trusses up and block them so that they would be nice and straight did not make them nice and straight. They're not plumb, they're not level, and some of the bracing is not set 24-inch on center, so we have to remove some of their bracing and fix it. Now that the trusses are holding the walls this way, we don't need some of the braces that were holding those walls square. We're gonna keep the ones that are front to back of the garage, but that will open up some space so that we can move our scaffolding around and work on things. So over there is a block that is 22.5 inches, and in the center it should be the same 22.5 inches, but it is very, very not. So this has been pushed out with the bracing that they did for the gable wall, and I need to disconnect it to get this 24 inches on center from the gable wall. So the trusses are very strong from a downward force point of view, but from side to side, they're kind of spaghetti. So you have to put this horizontal bracing all the way along on top of the trusses to hold them at 24 inches on center. And that 24 inches on center allows you to use the lines that are pre-drawn on the sheathing to put your nails in and actually hit studs. So I was working on that bracing and Mike got started on that first row of sheathing. Once that was done, we worked together to get more sheathing up there, and we used this ramp and rope method because, again, we don't have a telehandler, and it worked pretty well. It was definitely easier than carrying the boards up one by one on a ladder. And once we got going, the second row went much quicker, but we did have to again, adjust every single one of those trusses, force it into place. We ended up using a ratcheting strap to get them in the right alignment before we would nail them into place. This made it so that the whole process took us a lot longer than we were anticipating, but we did get into a groove and made some progress. Now, before the internet gets super mad at us for not being strapped on, the roof is only a 412 pitch on the garage, and our driveway is literally steeper than this roof pitch. We were very careful. We used very grippy shoes. We were never up there when the wind was blowing, so there's that.
It is the end of another long weekend. This weekend, we were hoping to tackle all of the sheathing on the roof. We got, about a fourth of it done?
Yeah, I think this is a fourth of the way done.
Fourth of it done. We don't have a crane. I don't know how to operate a crane. We paid some guys, the people who were framing our house, to set the trusses, and they got them in the right place on the top plate, but they didn't do much else. They did some temporary bracing. Everything was crooked. Every single member they placed on the roof was crooked. So we had to go through methodically and straighten everything out, block the bottom, get the top in line, and then actually begin sheathing. So it was quite a bit of work to get that done. That's the bad news. The good news is that once we straightened it out, everything is actually going really well. We have some nice straight lines up here. The sheathing looks really good from where I'm sitting. So didn't get as much done as we wanted, but it is being done correctly, and that is great. I guess we'll take that for the win it is and let the rest go.
Just like the sheathing on the walls, we ended up doing some work on the weekdays just after work. So we'd work our full 8 hours on our remote jobs, and then we'd go outside and work for another 2 or 3 hours getting some boards on the roof. Not good?
Not good. So I'll give you this.
Okay. As we moved up the roof Each and every row, we would check the levelness of the gable wall, and as we got closer to the top, we had to remove the bracing that had been put there and then readjust it with straps to get it level.
It's very nice.
Nice. It is Saturday morning, and we are working on starting the other side. We have most of the first row on this side done. Our goal is to finish the sheathing on the roof today, if not tomorrow, so that it's ready for roofing. And we have roofers coming on Wednesday to do the underclad and put the roof on, which is very exciting because then we will have a dry space to store things. We have the man door ready to install and a window ready to install, but the actual garage door is ordered and won't be here for a long time, unfortunately. We're thinking about just boarding up the garage door temporarily until our actual garage door comes, so that we can store things in here and they'll be safe and dry and we can lock it. That's where we're at. We're working on sheathing this whole thing today. As I'm sure you've noticed, we always start out the weekends with ambition and big stretch goals to get things done, and we rarely accomplish everything that we say we're going to accomplish. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So far, I think I'm learning that everything takes twice as long as we think it's going to take. We thought that we could do this in one weekend, and here we are on the second weekend. This time we do have a hard deadline though, because we are working towards the date that the roofers said that they would be here. So we do have to get it done before Wednesday. I will say that this has been the most physically demanding step for me. My knees and my back were killing me by the end of this. It is Sunday afternoon and we have done all but the ridge line. We also have a disagreement about how we should do this. I think that we should measure for the largest gap and then use the table saw to cut down all of the boards to that size so that they're smaller when we get them up there and they're easier to work with and get into place, and we can see where the beams are and nail them down. Mike wants to use full-size sheets and then snap a chalk line and use a skill saw to cut them down.
If we trim them in place, then we don't have to measure every single board. And since we're not going to get away with a half board or less than a half board anyway, then I think that that's the faster way to go.
Yeah.
Disagreements, but that means that we have to haul whole sheets up onto the garage, which is a lot of work for both of us.
We ended up going with Mike's plan and it worked pretty well. It worked just fine. I just really didn't want to haul any more full-size sheets up onto the roof, but we did it. So here it is.
Hashtag peak performance. Allie, do you get it? Because it's peak performance.
And there it is in all of its glory. The garage is fully sheathed on the walls and on the roof and ready for the roofers to come and put the ice clad on and then the actual shingles. We decided to hire roofers for two reasons. One, because the quote was really very reasonable and it was going to save us a lot of time. We could have done the roofing on the garage, but we definitely didn't want to do the roofing on the house ourselves, and the quote that we got included the garage and the house. So we decided to go with that, and I'm very happy that we did. We did wrap the garage ourselves. I didn't get any video of that, but it really wasn't that interesting. At the beginning of this, we posed the question if two amateurs could finish framing a 40x40 garage before the framers finished our house. And the answer was yes, but not because we were fast, but really because they were slow. More on that to come. Thank you so much for watching, and please be sure to subscribe.